Hey, what's up, Brew Crew? Welcome to the first video in a series that we have dubbed The Sixer. Most channels will do a top 10, but we felt like a six-pack was more appropriate for Beer City board games. This first list is all about my formative games. So, what does that mean? Well, it's the 6 games that somehow influenced or impacted my taste and interest as a gamer. They aren't necessarily the first 6 games that I played, but they are the games that helped me discover something new about the hobby. Now, I was having a difficult time ranking them against each other in terms of just how formative they were for me. So instead what I've done is list them out chronologically in the order in which they affected me. So, let's start off with number 6. Alright, the first game on my list is Citadels. This was one of the first hobby games that I ever played. We went to a friend's house and played this game, and I remember coming home and telling Jen that, I think I could really see myself getting into this hobby, and I think I was onto something. A lot of people talk about their gateway game, and I suppose this would be mine because after playing it I started researching games, buying games, watching board game videos. Soon I was on Board Game Geek, and it all pretty much snowballed from there. If Citadels was the first hobby game that I played, Pandemic was the first board game that I really got into. And by that I mean that Jen and I would set this up and play multiple times in a row trying to beat this game. I'd never really played a cooperative game before, and the idea of working with Jen to fight against these diseases was right up my alley. Eventually we got pretty good at it, and while we don't play the base Pandemic too much anymore, although I still love the Pandemic Legacy games, I don't know that I'd ever get rid of it because of what it did for us when we started getting into this hobby. As a side note, we do also own Pandemic Iberia and Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, which I'm more likely to break out if I get the urge to play a Pandemic game. My number 4 is also a cooperative game. Arkham Horror is a big, thematic, epic board game, and until then we had not played anything so thematic. This was the first game that we actually started curating board game nights around, with drink selections, candles, super spooky atmosphere, ambient music, things like that. It was also one of the first games that I started to upgrade as well, with new dice, new glass counters for health, sanity, clues. Arkham Horror showed me that I really do enjoy a rich thematic gaming experience. Number 3 on my list of formative games is Istanbul. Up until this point, I had done most of my board game shopping online, typically at Amazon, and I was still aware of any local game stores. Then I learned about a game store in my area and decided to go check it out. The staff were super helpful and not only suggested a couple of games to try, but also a few YouTube channels to watch to help us learn a little bit more about what we may or may not like. We bought Istanbul on their recommendation. We brought it on a road trip with us and played it that night, and we loved it. So Istanbul is going on my list as my introduction to the FLGS scene, and also a big shout out to Out of the Box Games in West Michigan. Castles of Burgundy still ranks near the top of my favorite games list. I remember a time when this game seemed so intimidating, and I'm not exactly sure why. We had already played more rules-heavy and complex games. I think maybe it was a combination of the way that the game looked and how it was so well regarded that made me think this was something that only really serious gamers play. But we decided to give it a try, and I vividly remember our first time playing this game and how excited I was about all the different combinations and different strategies that you could take. This was when I really discovered my love for the midweight Euro designs, and when I first became a fan of Stefan Feld, who is probably my favorite designer. Spoiler if I ever decide to do that list. The last game on my list today is Jamaica. And this is more about where I was the first time that I played it rather than the game itself. Jamaica was the first game that I ever played at a gaming convention. Some friends and I took the day off so that we could attend the first day at Grand Con, which is our hometown con. This was back when it was still at the Crown Plaza Hotel and before they moved on to the DeVos Place Convention Center. This was the moment when I fell in love with gaming conventions. Now Gen Con is an annual trip for us. We've been to Origins, and there's several other conventions that are on our list of cons that we'd like to attend. But Grand Con is still my favorite, though. It's less of a trade show and more about the gaming. They have a fantastic game library, and downtown Grand Rapids is a great place for a convention with tons of stuff to do, places to eat, things to see. We typically spend the entire weekend gaming as long as the hall is open. So if you ever come to Grand Con, odds are pretty good that you will see me there. All right, those are my 6 formative games. In the comments below, let me know. Have you played any of these games? What do you think of them? And let me know what games really solidified your love of the hobby. And until the next time, let's get another round for the table.
Hey everybody, don't forget to like and comment on this video. If you found value in this video at all, it would mean a lot to us if you consider subscribing to the channel as well. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when we put out a new video. Cheers!